forecast, things looking crazy. A storm on the horizon, the pressure is low. Gotta get moving, put on a show. The news is all buzzing, state of alert, but we've got a plan, we're ready to work. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. See a little fire or a rising flood, we're a well-oiled machine, we're running in the mud. From the city hall meetings to the rescue teams, turning worst case scenarios into hopeful dreams. We're training the people, stocking the gear, we're the team you can count on when trouble is near. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. It's more than a job, it's a calling, you see. Prepared for the present and what's yet to be. Every second counts, we're ready to react for our communities. We're making an impact. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. Yeah, we're picking you up, we're ready to go. EMA, let's get this show on the road.
Let's get this show on the road. How about that? Emergency Management Associates, guys, we are on the air. How about that? Emergency Management Associates on the air here. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. How about that, guys? We're here for you. Now, guys, this is going to be a little bit different tonight. First off, before we get started, it is Charlie Kirk's birthday, i.e. the red shirt, the red tie. Yeah. And guess what? Guess what? President Trump today, later this afternoon, is going to award Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Yeah. He's going to give Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom today. Okay? Now, let's go look at the earthquakes around the world. We've had quite a few large earthquakes already today. We're going to talk about why we're having the earthquakes today as well. Okay? So let's look over here on the USGS map. Okay? Now, I'm going to take down the EMA banner you see here. I'm going to take down our webcam for just a very few minutes. So guess what? We had some earthquakes again off the southeast coast of Kamchatka Peninsula. Go figure. We said we are going to continue to have earthquakes here. It's happening right now. We're still having earthquakes here off the Kamchatka Peninsula because these are aftershock quakes. Aftershock quakes. If you remember, over a month ago, we had an 8.8, 9.4 earthquake here. An 8.8, 9.4 earthquake, major earthquake. Very major earthquake. And after that, the earthquakes just kept on coming. Earthquakes after the major original quake are called aftershocks. These aftershocks are going to continue for years, if not weeks, months, even years afterwards. These earthquakes here can continue for multiple years. Okay, why do I say that? Look what happened over in Puerto Rico. What happened in Puerto Rico in 2019? 2019. Let's bring up Puerto Rico here. I want to show you this. Okay, right here, southwestern Puerto Rico. Southwestern Puerto Rico here, guys. December 26th and December 28th. They got hit by an 8.0 and then another 8.4 earthquake on the 28th of December 2019. All these earthquakes that you see here every day are aftershocks of that quake. 6 years later, nearly 6 years later, guys, and they're still having earthquakes here. This is a 2.1 near Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico. Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico, a 2.1 minor earthquake. This happens to be also 9 miles deep. Right here, along the shoreline of southwestern Puerto Rico. This is another 2.1 minor earthquake, 2 miles west of Fuig, Puerto Rico. 2 miles west of Fuig, Puerto Rico. Down here further to the southwest. This is another 2.0 earthquake. This happens to be in La Porguera, Puerto Rico. La Porguera, Puerto Rico, right here. Okay? Now, what happened here? December 26th, we had an 8.0 earthquake. It was caused by men. Caused by men, guys. Back in the day when we talked about this earthquake originally, we told you it was made by man. Let me bring up the little piece of information I have for you about this quake. Okay? Then you'll completely understand what I'm talking about. This earthquake was caused by this. Please do not put this acronym in the chat. I do not want to see this in the chat at all. Okay? But this organization did it. Okay? They have an organization platform facility in Norway, one in Russia, another in northwestern Australia. They turned on their facility. They triangulated southwestern Puerto Rico. The first day, December 26th, they caused an 8.0 earthquake. Then they did it again on December 28th. It wasn't good enough to cause a major earthquake in Puerto Rico, causing major damage, destroying homes, businesses, buildings, all over southwestern Puerto Rico. On the 28th, they did it again, causing more death and destruction. This second time was an 8.4 major quake. The second time, it also took down a natural monument. There was a great big huge arch like you see in Arches National Park, Utah. Great big huge arch on the beach there near Porguera, Puerto Rico. That 8.4 major earthquake knocked it down. That 8.4 earthquake knocked it down. There never will be another arch there in Puerto Rico ever again. Natural arch there knocked it down. Okay? That's what happens when we have major earthquakes. We're going to talk about major earthquakes tonight. But here you saw 3 earthquakes here in southwestern Puerto Rico today. Today, almost 6 years later. Somebody's calling me on Facebook Messenger. I hope they join this program here. They're going to find out I'm on the air. I do not answer Facebook Messenger calls while I'm on the air. Okay? Just don't do it. It's been a policy of mine. But guys, this happens. These major earthquakes happen, and they happen for a reason. Okay? Now let's go back here, and actually while I'm here, let's talk about 3 other earthquakes that happened here, or 2 others. Down here in southeastern Dominican Republic, Ramona. This is a 4.0 earthquake here. Over here at the top of the Mona Passage, this body of water between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico is called the Mona Passage. Up here to the north, northwest of Puerto Rico. This is a 2.9 3.0 earthquake. It came off the Cayman Ridge. Came off the Cayman Ridge right up here to the north. This earthquake fault is called the Cayman Ridge. That's where this earthquake came from. Dropped off here at the top of the Mona Passage by the Cayman Ridge Fault Zone. The Cayman Ridge Fault Zone. The Cayman Ridge originates over here in Guatemala. Comes out of Guatemala. Goes out here in the Caribbean Sea. Then it goes out here for several hundred miles and all of a sudden turns north. Goes upwards to the Cayman Islands here. Goes over here to the Cayman Islands. It continues its westward journey. It goes north over Jamaica here. Then it continues eastward over here and skirts the Cuban coast. Skirts the Cuban coast here. It continues its eastward journey here and it goes over north of Haiti and north of the Dominican Republic here. Okay? Continues eastward here and it goes north of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. It continues eastward from Puerto Rico all the way out here to the Leeward Islands. It goes north of U.S. and British Virgin Islands, goes north and east of the Leeward Islands here. It turns almost directly south here. Turns almost directly south and continues its southbound journey until it gets over here just off the coast of Venezuela. Then it turns westbound into Venezuela. Goes over to Trinidad and Barbados. Okay? Goes over here into Venezuela. The Cayman Ridge is a very staunch earthquake fault. Staunch earthquake fault out here in the Caribbean Sea and over here in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? That's what happens here. Let's go back here to the Kamchatka Peninsula. We have 2 earthquakes here. This is a 4.3 aftershock here. This is a 4.8. This one's stronger. This is 30 kilometers deep. The 4.6 here, or 4.3 here, is 47 kilometers deep. Basically the same depth. Aftershocks of the 8.8, 9.4 earthquake that happened here over a month ago. Okay? Now again, I want to tell you that USGS is not going to show you all the earthquakes here. There are plenty more earthquakes here than they're showing. They're just not showing it. They never will. I've come to a fact here that USGS will never show all the earthquakes ever. Unless President Trump forces them, twists their arm, and tells the politicians to stay out of it. The politicians are the reason USGS doesn't talk about much of anything anymore. They used to. They're not anymore. Over here in the South Kuril Islands, just north of Hokkaido, Japan. This is another 4.4 moderate earthquake. This is 63 kilometers deep. Over here in Japan, we have 3 other earthquakes here that they're not even talking about 2 of them. The 2 others are on the east coast of Japan. This one here is over here off the northwest coast of Japan, off of Honshu, Japan. Okay? This is another 4.6 moderate earthquake. This is 2 miles deep. 2 miles deep here offshore, off the western shore of Japan. 4.6 earthquake. Nobody living here in this area or in the Kuril Islands or over on Kamchatka Peninsula even felt these 4-pointers here. These are moderate earthquakes, and for the most part, this ocean waters have absorbed the shock waves of these quakes. Okay, let's continue south here. Look at that. Not showing all the earthquakes here. Go figure. Let's drop down here to Mindanao, Philippines here. Mindanao, Philippines. Okay. Just a while back, we had a major earthquake here off the southeastern point of Mindanao, Philippines, way down here to the south here. Look at this today. 5 earthquakes here. This earthquake off of the northern shore of Mindanao, Philippines is a 5.0 earthquake. 5.0 earthquake, 30 miles deep. Okay? This is 14 miles east of Bacuan, Philippines. This, I believe, was close enough that people on land felt this earthquake. They felt at least a good portion of this earthquake, probably a 4.8, 4.9 share of this earthquake. There may be damages here in northeastern Philippines. Okay? This is a 5.0. This is another 5.0. I don't believe anybody felt this earthquake here. Okay? This happened after 2:17 p.m. this afternoon Eastern Time. This 5.0 here happened late last night. This happened at 10:39 p.m. last night Eastern Time. Further out here in the sea, notice where these earthquakes all are. This is the Philippine earthquake fault. The Philippine earthquake fault. This is a very large 5.5 magnitude earthquake here. Very large 5.5 magnitude earthquake. 5.0, 5.4 are considered to be large earthquakes. 5.5 to 5.9 are very large earthquakes. This is a very large, powerful earthquake. This is also a very shallow quake, 26 miles deep. 26 miles deep. This is also 43 miles away from the shoreline. If anybody felt anything on the shoreline, it was just barely a rattle here. Okay? Like I said, it happened after 10 p.m. last night. Further north here, on the same Philippine fault, this is another 5.0 earthquake. This also happened at 1:23 p.m. this afternoon, Eastern Time. 5.0 earthquake, 6.2 miles deep. Very shallow earthquake. 50 miles northeast of Bacnuan, Philippines. 5.0 earthquake. This is another 4.8 moderate earthquake here. 48 miles northeast of Bacnuan, Philippines. 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Now, the closest large earthquake here may have been felt by the people here in the Philippines. Now, Even though we have that major earthquake down to the south. About a year ago, we had a 7.4 earthquake here. These fives here, these 5.0, 5.5 earthquakes here may even be aftershocks of the 7.4 earthquake here a year ago. Aftershocks of the 7.4 earthquake here a year ago. And no, these are not the only earthquakes here in the Philippines. There are aftershocks down here to the south here. They're just not showing them. What a joke. What a cotton picking joke. Look over here in Indonesia. 46 earthquakes here in Indonesia. They show us one. A 4.3 earthquake here in Tuol, Indonesia. This earthquake happened after 11:17 a.m. this morning, early this morning. Okay? 46 earthquakes here in Indonesia, they show one. Yes, I understand that USGS is out to lunch, but they have no money. USGS has essentially been shut down unless there's some major quake here in the United States that wakes them up. Yeah, go figure. Let's go over here in Papua New Guinea. This is a large 5.3 earthquake here. A large 5.3 earthquake that happened at 3:32 p.m. Eastern Time this afternoon. Okay, a 5.3 large earthquake here. Let's zoom in. Let's take a look at where this was at. Look at this. Way out to sea. 5.3 earthquake way out to sea, 128 miles east-northeast of Kokopo, Papua New Guinea. Nobody felt this earthquake. Nobody at all. Far enough away from any landmass, nobody felt this earthquake. Everybody got lucky here. They got very lucky here. Let's go over here to Vanuatu. This is a moderate earthquake over here in Vanuatu. It's out in the ocean here. This is a 4.6 earthquake near Sula, Vanuatu. 101 miles northwest of Sula, Vanuatu. Nobody felt this earthquake either. The ocean waters have absorbed the shockwaves of this quake. Interesting enough. Look here. No earthquakes being reported in Tonga, Samoa. No earthquakes being reported in Fiji, or even down in New Zealand. There are earthquakes. I can promise you there are earthquakes here, but they're just failing not to do their job. They're failing to do their job completely. Unreal. Let's go over here to South America. Earlier, just about an hour earlier, we didn't see but one earthquake here. We saw one earthquake right here. This is a 5.2 earthquake that happened earlier this afternoon, 1:10 p.m. this afternoon. This happened near Tirana, Chile. Let's zoom in here and take a look at this earthquake. Look where it's at. It is in the foothills of the Andes Mountains. 38 miles east-northeast of La Tirana, Chile. Now this was a 5.2 earthquake in the foothills of the Andes Mountains. The people down here in Tirana felt this earthquake. Large 5.2 earthquake. They felt this earthquake. This is only a small village here. It's not a large city, it's a small village here. It may look like a good-sized town, but it's a small village here. Okay, they felt this earthquake. There may be damage here. There may be damage from this earthquake here. We have not heard yet about what's happened here. This happened at 2:13 p.m. this afternoon. We have not heard about any damage from this earthquake yet. If we get any information, we'll pass it on. Let's go south. This earthquake also happened after 1:19 p.m. this afternoon. This is a 4.1 moderate earthquake, 48 miles west of Olegue, Chile, in the foothills of the Chilean mountains here, the Andes Mountains. This is a 4.8 earthquake here, a moderate 4.8 earthquake. This also occurred after 12:43 this morning. 12:43 this morning, they had a moderate earthquake here. Let's zoom in here. Take a look at what's here. Yes, this is pretty much in the foothills of the Andes Mountains, but look what we have here. Volcanoes. Volcanoes, guys. This may very well be a volcanic earthquake. Magma down beneath the surface here. That's kind of what it looks like today. Okay? I'm just telling you. These are not the only earthquakes here. There are another 12 earthquakes here in northern Chile. There's also 13 earthquakes down here to the south and south central Chile here. They're still not reporting all the earthquakes here. They never do. They almost never do. Earthquakes over here in Colombia as well, northern Colombia, Santander, Colombia. Over here in Central America, they're not reporting one single earthquake here. There are 14 earthquakes here in Central America as of about 2 hours ago. 42 earthquakes here in central or southern Mexico. Southern Mexico, tons of earthquakes here. Most of those earthquakes are down here in Oaxaca, Mexico here. That's where most of those earthquakes are. Now, I don't know if I would get lucky enough to show you where that town was that's having that volcano movement here. Let's see if I can zoom in on that volcano right here. There it is. There are 24 earthquakes here. 24 earthquakes because they have a volcano here. No, the volcano is not erupting. But quite a few earthquakes right here. Okay? Unreal. Unreal. Now, I fully believe we're going to have a very large to very strong 6.2 earthquake here in southern Mexico. Why do I say that? Because last week we had a 5.0 just offshore of Oaxaca, Mexico. I believe we're going to have another 6.2 earthquake here in central Oaxaca, Mexico. We're going to have to see. The last time we had a 5.0 earthquake off of southern Mexico here, we had another 6.4. That's why I'm calling this 6.2 here. Probably going to happen by this weekend. We'll see. Okay? Let's go further north here. The San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault here. You know something? This is a 4.8 moderate earthquake. 4.8 earthquake out here in the Pacific Ocean. Okay? This earthquake happened after 12:50 p.m. this afternoon. Yeah. Fun and games out here. Fun and games. Heidi Petrick just gave us 5 more Emergency Management Associates memberships here to our family here on the chat. Those of you who got memberships from Heidi, Please thank her. Grandma Deb, Richard Swanson, Phyllis Harris, Brother Enoch, and Chris Donaldson. Thank Heidi Petrick for your 5 memberships here. Now, Thursday morning, I plan on having another Emergency Management Associates members only meeting Thursday morning. So plan on that. You folks that just got your memberships, plan on having and join us on a members only meeting here on Thursday morning. Okay, I'll be here. Thanks, Heidi, for that. God bless you, dear. We really love you and appreciate you. Thank you for that. Thank you a lot. Now, guys, this is not the only earthquake out here. Okay? Coming from the San Andreas Fault. We're going to talk a great deal tonight about the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault originates off the coast of Northern California, comes all the way down here to southern Mexico, and meets the Cocos Plate. Fancy that. There are more earthquakes here also than they're showing here. They're still not showing everything. They never do, never will. Okay? They're not showing all the earthquakes here in Los Angeles either. Over 400 earthquakes here in Los Angeles. They're just barely showing a handful of earthquakes here. This earthquake right here, Hawthorne, California. This is a 1.3 tremor here. I almost have to laugh at tremor because these are not the only earthquakes here. There are all kinds of tremors all over Los Angeles. All kinds of earthquake faults all over Los Angeles. It's no small wonder we have tremors here and all over Los Angeles. But there's just not just tremors. There are minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9. We also have several 3.0 to 3.9. We have a handful of 4.0, 4.5 earthquakes, moderate earthquakes. Here in the Los Angeles area, we do not have any large 5.0s at all, but it's coming. I feel it's coming very soon. Okay? Like I said, we're going to talk significantly about the San Andreas Fault here. The San Andreas Fault comes all the way down here on the eastern side of Los Angeles, right there. The San Andreas Fault. Right here. Mentone, California. This is the 1.0 tremor. For out here to the southwest, Loma Linda. Good old Loma Linda, California. This is a 0.8 microquake here in Loma Linda, California. This earthquake is on the San Jacinto Fault. The San Jacinto Fault over here in Loma Linda. Out here in the desert area, Lake Arrowhead. This was a larger quake. They downgraded this quake. This was a 2.4 earthquake over here in Lake Arrowhead, California. Now they've downgraded it to a 1.2 tremor. 1.2 tremor here in Lake Arrowhead. From a moderate earthquake, or not a moderate, but a minor earthquake to tremor. Unreal. For out here to the south, Yucaipa, California, this is a 1.5 tremor also here on the San Andreas Fault. Fancy that. This is 6 miles east-northeast of Yucaipa here. Interesting. That's a 1.3 tremor. This is a 1.5, 9 miles northeast of Yucaipa. Interesting. on the San Andreas Fault. Fascinating. Very fascinating. Further down here is south and west. Banning, California. Notice where Banning, California is. This is on the western side of the San Andreas Fault. This is the 1.2 tremor here. Plenty of tremors out here. Going down here, we go into North San Diego County and Zabrego Desert State Park in North San Diego County. We have tremors here. We have no earthquakes here in the Zabrego Desert State Park. Not at all. Over here, this is 7 miles east of Julian. This is the 1.0 tremor here. This earthquake to the south of there is another 1.2 tremor here. Southeast of Julian. Julian's a great place. If you ever have a chance to go to Julian, just park your car and walk around. You'll have a good time. Get a piece of apple pie from the people who grow the apple pie here in Julian. Hot, fresh apple pie and hot apple cider. Now's the time to lick your lips and get excited about hot apple cider and apple pie in Julian, California. Down here in Calipatria. This happens to be Imperial County, California. Calipatria. We have a 1.3 tremor here. This is another 1.3. This is also 1.7. This is the 1.1. These are tremors in Calipatria, California. There are also minor earthquakes. There are plenty of tremors, lots of minor earthquakes, and even a 3.2 earthquake. Calipatria, California. They're never going to show all these earthquakes, ever. Not ever. One more earthquake here in southern Imperial County. Heber, California. Heber, California, just north of the border. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. 2.0 earthquake. Now, folks, what do we have here? What do we have here? This earthquake here in Heber, California is west, approximately 3 miles west of the San Andreas Fault here. I still believe the San Andreas Fault had something to do with this earthquake. It's close enough. Definitely close enough. Again, they're not showing all the earthquakes here on in the Imperial Valley here, on or near the San Andreas. Too bad. Too bad. Lots of earthquakes here. Okay? Look up the San Andreas Fault as we go north here. We don't get any earthquakes until we got up here just south of Monterey Bay. South of Monterey Bay, here is the Pinnacles. The Pinnacles here on the San Andreas Fault are in an oil and gas pumping operation. They're in an oil and gas pumping operation. That's why we have this quake here. This is a 2.1 minor earthquake. Okay? Go further north on the San Andreas Fault, southwest of San Francisco Bay. This is a 1.2 minor tremor. 1.2 minor tremor here near Portola Valley, California. Notice where it's at. Southwest of San Francisco Bay. Let's go out here to the east. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake, 9 miles west southwest of Patterson, California, on the Calaveras Fault. The Calaveras Fault. This is far enough away from San Francisco Bay. Just to the east side of San Francisco Bay, we have the Hayward Fault here. Hayward Fault here. A couple of weeks ago, we had a 4.5 moderate earthquake up here in Berkeley, California. Now they're not showing anything here. I'm sure there's at least some tremors here. There are at least some tremors here that they're not showing us. Fancy that. But the Hayward Fault runs near the San Francisco Bay to the east. The Hayward Fault. The Calaveras Fault is further east. They go all the way down here to the southern side of the San Francisco Bay. This is where the San Andreas, the Hayward, and the Calaveras come close to. 3 very dangerous fault zones here, guys. 3 very dangerous fault zones right here. The Calaveras to the east, the Hayward Fault here in the center, and also out here to the west, the San Andreas. Go figure. Unreal. Remember where we're showing you here. You need to remember where these earthquake faults are. We're going to be talking about it. We go 100 miles north of San Francisco Bay. Now we are in the Geysers region, Sonoma Valley, California. We have earthquakes here. Earthquakes that come off the Pacific Plate and come over here to the North American Plate. Earthquakes. They come over here and they find these man-made earthquake faults. Man-made earthquake faults. How does that happen? Why do we have man-made earthquake faults here? It's simple. Men wanted to drill into the upper magma chambers of a volcano to obtain steam to power turbines here in the geysers area. So they drilled a lot of holes in the ground. But now every time seismic energy finds it, it fractures the rock in the hole, causing the earth to shake. Go figure. We've had 4.5 earthquakes here in the geysers facility before. This week, we've already had 3.0 activity here. That's all fun and good. See this red earthquake? Just happened. Just barely happened. This is a 2.3 minor earthquake. We have tremors from 1.0. We have microquakes from 0.4, 0.5, 0.8, 0.9. We have 1.0 tremors, 1.2 tremors, 2.3 earthquakes here. The typical day, we have 25 earthquakes here in the geysers facility. 25 earthquakes here in the geysers facility. Okay, remember why we have earthquakes here. Okay, right here is the Clear Lake volcano. The same volcano is where we get the earthquake, where we get the steam from. Clear Lake volcano. Down here to the south of Clear Lake. This is Lower Lake, California. This is 1.5 tremor. This is still within the realm of the volcano. This 1.5 tremor is in the realm of the Clear Lake volcano. Okay? Out here to the northwest. This is normal. This is a 1.5 earthquake near Talmadge, California. Unfortunately, this happens every day. Tremors and minor earthquakes here. Further north, this is Redwood Valley. This is a 1.4 tremor here. Okay? Then we go up here to the north. The San Andreas Fault runs along the west side of the San Francisco Bay. Then it pretty much runs off and on over the shoreline here out to sea. Out to sea. Okay? Let's go up here. We have one earthquake here in Petrolia, California. Petrolia, California. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake. 2.2 minor earthquake. Now, I told you we have the San Andreas Fault right here. The San Andreas Fault meets at the triple junction. It meets with two other earthquake faults. The Gorda Escarpment runs east to west out here off the coast of Petrolia, California. The Gorda Escarpment. The San Andreas Fault also meets here at the triple junction with the San Andreas, the Cascadia here, and the Gorda Escarpment. 3 earthquake faults make up the triple junction here. 3 major earthquake faults. Okay? Remember where the triple junction is. We're going to be talking about the triple junction tonight. The Cascadia subduction zone runs away north from the triple junction along the coast of Oregon, along the coast of Washington State, all the way up here. All the way up here. But first, let's stop over here on the Blanco fracture zone. We've been having 3.0 here, earthquakes here all week. We have another earthquake here. This is another 3.1 earthquake. This is another 3.1 earthquake. This happened yesterday evening. 3.1 earthquake off the Blanco fracture zone, away from the coast of Bandon, Oregon. This is 126 miles west of Bandon, Oregon. Okay? This is still in the classic Cascadia subduction zone region. The Cascadia subduction zone region. This is important information here. Why is it important? Because, folks, once we go up here to northern Washington, we are expecting a Cascadia megathrust earthquake to the tune of 9.0, 10.0 earthquake here. 9.0, 10.0 magnitude earthquake here. Now, scientists have been saying that it's going to be here on the Cascadia subduction zone, but it could be here between the Cascadia and also the Juan de Fuca plate. The Juan, J-U-A-N-D-E-F-U-C-A, the Juan de Fuca fault. Okay? Why is this important? Why is it important? Because, folks, the Cascadia subduction zone, the earthquake fault, and the Juan de Fuca plate are subducting underneath the North American plate. They are subducting going underneath the North American plate. Why? Why are they doing that? It's simple mathematics here. Simple mathematics. Out here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic plate is expanding out here. The mid-Atlantic plate is expanding out here. It's pushing Greenland, pushing Canada, the United States and northern Mexico in a south-southwesterly direction. Yeah, fact. That is why we're having earthquakes on the East Coast. That is why the North American plate is going over the Cascadia subduction zone, the Juan de Fuca fault, and the Pacific fault. All 3 faults are subducting going underneath the North American plate. the North American craton. Over here near the East Coast, you see an earthquake. Let's talk about that real quick. This is a 2.6 earthquake here in northwestern New York. What do we know about northwestern New York? We continue to have earthquakes here, number one. Number two, the earthquakes here are caused by the mid-Atlantic plate pushing on the North American craton here, causing earthquakes all along the coast of North America, all along the coast of Canada, all the way down through New York, all the way down to Georgia. Yeah, Georgia. Earthquakes every day. Every day. It doesn't matter whether they show them or not, there are earthquakes here every day. Anywhere from tremors to minor earthquakes to full-blown 2.3, 3.0 earthquakes here every day. Fact. That's why we have earthquakes over here on the new manifold as well. On the new manifold here. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen. Now let's go back here to the North American craton here on the West Coast. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. We've told you before that you can't have volcanoes without subduction. You cannot have volcanoes without subduction. And I just got through telling you that the Pacific Plate, the Juan de Fuca Plate, and the Cascadia subduction zone are subducting underneath the North American Plate. I'm showing you where it is. Okay? It's happening. The volcanic processes that will release the Cascadia megathrust earthquake have been underway for roughly over 6 years. 6 years. Why do I say that? Because as I have shown you, Mount Rainier is getting ready to move. Mount Rainier is getting ready to move. Mount St. Helens is also getting ready to move. Fact. This is a bold statement to make. If any lives are to be saved by forecasting the Cascadia earthquake within a relatively tight timeline, as I said, I believe it's probably going to happen within 5 years. Scientists are saying possibly even 15 to 25 years. Guess what? There's a new study out. There is a new study out. Chris Goldfinger put out an article in the San Francisco Gate newspaper. The San Francisco Gate newspaper. In our program description today, you'll find a link to that newspaper article. I'm going to quote from that article throughout this program. That's because it's going to affect the Cascadia subduction zone. It's going to cause an earthquake. Not just an earthquake on the Cascadia subduction zone like we talked about. That's still going to happen. But we're also going to see significant seismic energy on the San Andreas Fault. Let's tell you why. Let's tell you why. Why am I talking about this, guys? Why am I belaboring this situation? There's hardly anybody watching this program, allegedly. YouTube says there's 36 people watching this program. I was hoping at least 52, 62, 72, 102, or more. I know there are a lot more than that. I'm very disappointed with what YouTube is doing. We'll talk about that again in a minute. But guys, with all the seismic energy that's going off, not just at the volcanoes, but along the coastline of the Cascadia subduction zone, that in and of itself is pointing to an eruption of the volcanoes and also the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. It's going to happen. It's almost imminent. I'm telling you guys, it's almost imminent. It's going to happen. Promise you. It will happen. New earthquake warnings have come out for the Pacific Ring of Fire. Specifically, the west coast of North America, British Columbia, Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California. I'm going to repeat. British Columbia, Canada, Vancouver Island, southwestern Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California. We've already had some very strong earthquakes and even major earthquakes hitting around the Pacific Ocean, all around the Pacific Basin, the Pacific Ring of Fire. We have earthquakes around the world. A lot of earthquakes around the world we're not even getting to acknowledge because USGS doesn't want any part of it. Yeah, go figure. We've had some very strong earthquakes. We've had a lot of earthquakes, as you know, down on the west coast of the United States and western Canada. I keep showing you earthquakes down all along the coastline. USGS doesn't like it. These earthquakes have been hitting the west coast for weeks and months, and they're getting to be more and more earthquakes. Not just one or two earthquakes, a handful of earthquakes, and larger. Earthquakes have been hitting the west coast on a regular basis for weeks and months. They're ongoing. They're going to continue to happen. What are you going to do about it? The earthquakes are still hitting the southeastern part of the world as well. We've seen earthquakes in Myanmar. We've seen it in Thailand. Seen it yesterday in Vietnam. Seen it over in Taiwan. We've seen it over in Indonesia. Today they're not showing hardly anything going on, but there is. Unreal. Major earthquakes, strong earthquakes, and a lot of smaller ground movement. Most of this ground movement is in an area, region, where there's large subduction zone going on. The Cascadia subduction zone. A lot of ground movement. A ton of ground movement. Now, I have told you, and we've talked about the Philippines and Indonesia areas. The Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, Southeast Asia, going over into the Pacific Islands, Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, Tonga, Fiji, Samoa, and further south. Earthquakes everywhere. Literally everywhere, guys. They are not showing us where the earthquakes are. I keep showing you where the earthquakes are. Okay? The Philippines and Indonesia are smack dab in the middle of the largest subduction zone in the world. But they're not showing any earthquakes there, but one lousy earthquake that USGS is showing us. One lousy earthquake. 46 earthquakes there, guys, and USGS shows us one. Largest subduction zone in the world. As a result of that area rocking and rolling, it's actually moving a great deal. more so now than ever before. I've told this story before, I'm telling it again tonight. A few years ago, I got a letter from a woman in Indonesia asking me, Ron, why are we having so many earthquakes in Indonesia? It's simple. You have 7 different subduction zones, 7 different tectonic plates, 7 different tectonic plates, guys. The tectonic plates are moving around the world, literally. Australia, the Australian, what is it called? The Australian-Indonesian plate. Unreal. Huge tectonic plate subducting underneath the other plates in Indonesia. Fascinating. That's why we have so many earthquakes here. Okay? As we've talked about in the past few weeks, we are seeing more and more earthquakes hitting in the lower subduction areas in eastern Russia, around the Kamchatka Peninsula. Earthquakes are directly hitting the Pacific Basin from Alaska, Canada, west coast of the United States. We even have a 7.8 in the Drake Passage south of South America. Yeah. Lots of earthquakes. Lots of major earthquakes. Lots and lots of major earthquakes. Okay? We also had numerous other 7.0 earthquakes there as well in the Drake Passage. Major earthquakes are literally happening around the world. The other day in this article that I'm talking about with you tonight, the article came out about the most dangerous faults on the West Coast, specifically talking about the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault and the San Andreas. The San Andreas. Did you know both of these faults could rupture together? Both the San Andreas fault and the Cascadia subduction zone could rupture together? Fact. Fact. Up and down the entire fault line. They could rupture together. Before Chris Goldfinger, University of Oregon, told us back in December 2019. He told us on December 23rd, 2019, that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake would happen off the coast of Seattle-Tacoma area. And then it would rattle all the way up north to Alaska and rattle all the way down south to Mexico. Why? Because at the time, Chris Goldfinger said that the Cascadia earthquake would trigger the San Andreas. He said the San Andreas earthquake would be triggered by the Cascadia earthquake. Now they've changed the story. Please listen to what I'm saying. Please listen to what I'm saying. This is true. I just got the article. I've read it and I'm passing on the information to you. We have a lot of people here in the Cascadia subduction zone region and over in California. All of you need to pay attention right now. Again, the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake and the San Andreas earthquake can happen simultaneously. Simultaneously, guys. How'd you like that? The entire fault zone giving up at the same time. Fascinating, huh? This article came out from Chris Goldfinger on October 7th, just last week. Both of these faults could rupture simultaneously together, or even separately. Or one quake on one fault could trigger the other fault's earthquakes. One quake on the Cascadia earthquake fault could trigger the San Andreas. Yeah, we've been talking about this a long time. We were talking about the Cascadia 9.0, 10.0 earthquake triggering the San Andreas fault. But what if we have simultaneous earthquakes on both faults? Think about that a minute. One fault can trigger the other fault, and now they're saying they could both trigger at the same time or separately. These are the warnings that we've been hearing for quite a while. I myself have spoken about the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake this week. I have previously said that the 9.0, 10.0 magnitude earthquake is going to hit the Pacific Northwest off the coast of Seattle, Tacoma area. Off the coast of the Seattle, Tacoma area. Yeah. And that earthquake could trigger the San Andreas Fault. We knew that back in 2023. We knew that back in 2029 or 2019. We knew it then. It's still true. Now, I'm going to take this one step further here. It is a San Andreas fault with other faults that can rupture one after the other in this area. The San Andreas fault with other faults could rupture together. The San Andreas fault, the Hayward, and the Calaveras fault could rupture all together. Or any of the other faults going south from there, they could all rupture together, meaning massive earthquake all over California. One great big huge massive earthquake off of California. Unreal. A symphony of earthquakes. A symphony of earthquakes could equate to a major earthquake that we call the megaquake. We've been calling the Cascadia earthquake a megaquake for a long time. It's going to be. It will be. Okay? Now this would be very devastating. It would be very devastating if the Cascadia was triggering the San Andreas. But now, we know now that the San Andreas could and likely will trigger the Cascadia. Scientists are saying that the San Andreas fault can trigger the Cascadia earthquake. Before it's the other way around. Okay? There is video footage all over about all those earthquakes that happened in the Philippines this past 2 weeks. Major earthquakes, guys. Major earthquakes. Major damage, but fortunately, so far, the earthquakes in the Philippines have caused what we determine as a minimal loss of life. Any loss of life is too much. Unless we live in an area where there are seismic building codes in effect that help protect people. But in the Philippines, down in Indonesia, those building codes are almost non-existent. Almost non-existent. If there are no building codes enforced, then those buildings are going to be destroyed when a large earthquake comes around. The Philippines already has seen a loss of life due to major 7.4 earthquakes hitting the Philippines since 2019. Since 2019. We've seen devastation in Myanmar this year. Myanmar, Southeast Asia, Burma. We've seen damage in Thailand. We've seen damage in Vietnam. Yeah. We've seen damage from earthquakes in Mexico. We're still seeing that today. We're seeing damage in Turkey. February 3rd, 2023, we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake in the Turkey-Syria border region. Thousands of people died. Thousands more injured. Turkey. How about Venezuela last week? They had a 5.1 earthquake in Venezuela last week. More people killed there. There's a true seismic buildup in Italy. Huge seismic buildup in Italy, north central Italy. Swarms of earthquakes. 22 earthquakes there today. Down in south central Greece, 17 earthquakes there today. We've seen a buildup of seismic energy earthquakes in the Greece area and over in the Aegean Sea as well. It's continued today, Italy and Greece. These earthquakes are rocking these countries over and over and over again. Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula rocking over and over with aftershocks. Even some of the aftershocks being major earthquakes. Yes, several of the earthquakes off the Kamchatka Peninsula were major 7.0, 7.2 earthquakes. That's because the earthquake was originally an 8.8, 9.0 earthquake. Yeah, that's huge. Okay, last week, a large 5.7 earthquake hit in Ethiopia. We know why that is happening. Fissures are opening up all over Eastern Africa. Fissures are opening up. There is likely to be a small continental shift there, where part of the land breaks off from Africa. That's what we believe is happening over there in Africa. Continental tectonic plate break. Continental split. We've also seen tsunamis more in the last year than we've ever seen before. Tsunami warnings being issued more and more lately. And the rise of the waves in the sea. The rise in the waves of the sea of the tsunami. Larger and larger tsunami waves. Some of the tsunami warnings have been reduced or even pulled back, but not all of them. With the social media as it is now, we are hearing more and more about these incidents on a more frequent basis. Now, yesterday, in a previous episode of this program, we talked about the sun being involved. Yes, the sun is involved. Great big huge sunspot in the center of the sun, Earth facing, firing off solar flares. Firing off solar flares. William C. Stevens, thank you for that EMA2 purchase here. We welcome you as a member of our program. Thank you so much, William. God bless you. The sun is firing off solar flares. The solar flares are firing off into space, aren't they? In the direction of Earth. We talked about this yesterday. This has been going on a lot lately in the last 2 years since we've been in a solar maximum. Yes, a solar maximum. We've had a lot of solar flares that's going to continue. The solar cycles last 11 years. Now we're in year 2. Okay? We're completing year 2 right now. Solar flares are launching away from the sun with what? Plasma radiation. Plasma radiation, X-ray radiation as well. The X-ray radiation hits the Earth within 4 to 6 hours. The plasma radiation sometimes takes 3 to 4 days to hit the Earth. It's traveling over 469 feet per second. 469 feet per second. and reaches the Earth within 3 to 4 days. Incredible. Plasma radiation. What does a plasma radiation do? What does that plasma radiation do? It goes out into space. It hits the Earth, Earth facing the sun, like this. It envelopes the Earth like this, where the entire Earth is enveloped in plasma radiation, interrupting high-frequency radio communication of police, fire, medical personnel, and ham radios. Okay? They hear static. They hear static because of the plasma radiation. What else happens? What else happens? When the plasma radiation reaches Earth, it goes through our magnetosphere. Right now, we still have a very weak magnetosphere. It goes through our magnetosphere into our atmosphere. It heats up the atmosphere. Yes, folks, the plasma radiation heats up the atmosphere as well. Then it goes down to the surface of the Earth and it heats up the plates. Goes down to the surface of the Earth, heats the plates. But not just the plates, the earthquake faults as well. Now the plates and the faults are held together by friction. The plates and the faults are held together by friction like this. Sand, rock, dirt, biological material holding those plates and faults in place. Okay? Holding those plates and faults in place. When we get enough solar radiation and we get enough seismic energy, works both ways. Seismic energy locked up in certain places along the faults. Seismic energy locked up along the plates. When we get a massive amount of seismic energy, we have a break, don't we? We certainly do. We have an earthquake. Get enough seismic energy in one place, and all of a sudden we have an earthquake. Could be upwards of a major earthquake like we've seen in Alaska. Alaska, the summer of 2019. Summer of 2019, a 7.0 earthquake in Anchorage. Yeah. Enough seismic energy, and all of a sudden we have a major earthquake. But we have solar flares also, and something else. Planetary alignments. When we have one planet aligning with the other, it creates electromagnetic radiation. That electromagnetic radiation penetrates the Earth's atmosphere, penetrates the ground that we walk on and heat it up. It penetrates the faults. It penetrates the plates, heating up the plates and faults, allowing the Earth to move more freely like this. Yes, folks, the Earth is moving more freely like this. And the plates are subducting under the other plate like this. In the Indonesia, Southeast Asia area, including Australia, Tonga, Samoa, New Zealand, Fiji, Vanuatu, the Legacy Islands, the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, and Papua Indonesia. All the way up through the Philippines, all the way out to Southeast Asia to Myanmar, all the way up to Japan. 7 different tectonic plates. 7 different tectonic plates, one plate subducting under the other just like this. Then we have the plasma radiation, we have the electromagnetic radiation, and the earthquakes, the seismic energy, coming together, causing a major earthquake. The faults and plates are held together by friction. Gunk, grime, dirt, rock, sand, and biological material. When heated up, it turns all that stuff into oily, greasy-like substance, allowing the plates to more freely move like this. That's what happens. The faults and plates are already stressed. The faults and plates are already stressed, guys. Can you imagine that? The faults and plates are already stressed here. We have a lot of seismic energy that's already locked up, including over in the Gulf of Alaska. The Gulf of Alaska, guys, we've had major earthquakes over in Alaska. We've had major earthquakes in the Aleutian Islands. We've had major seismic energy over at Kamchatka Peninsula, and that energy, some of it has worked its way through the Aleutian Islands over Alaska, walked up in northern Alaska. The same thing is happening at the Cascadia subduction zone. The same thing is happening on the San Andreas Fault. Seismic energy locked up. It's about to pop. When those plates are already stressed, the plasma radiation, the electromagnetic radiation, and other factors turn all that friction energy that's holding those plates in place, turned into a greasy, oily-like substance, allows the plates to more freely move. Then we have an earthquake. That's what's happening. That's what happens. Okay? These plates and these earthquake faults are going to move in a large way. They're ready to move in a large way. In March of this year, scientists were talking about this more seriously. Yes, they've been watching it for some time now. Like I said, back in 2019, on December 23rd, Chris Goldfinger, the same seismologist from the University of Oregon, held a symposium in San Francisco. It was at that time in 2019, he said that the Cascadia earthquake could trigger the San Andreas. Now, Chris Goldfinger has been involved with these other scientists, and they're now saying that either one or both could go off at the same time. Either one or both could go off at the same time, making things really sicky, making things really bad. Okay? Some have wanted to say something for a while. The scientists have been held quiet because they're not supposed to talk about it. They feared that they would be regarded as someone less than they are. Now these scientists know something is about to happen. And yes, some have come forward. Some people have been wondering if it is all a result of the intensity of solar flares. That's only part of it. Yes, we've had some large, major solar flares coming off the sun from large solar sunspots. Yeah. Huge areas of sun. That causes it. But that is just one cause. Yes, the sun does play a good-sized part in this planetary tectonic plate dance. But that is only part of the story. We have planetary alignments out there, like I said, that cause electromagnetic radiation to develop and transfer from planet to planet until there's an earthquake on that planet. Yeah. EMF radiation, electromagnetic frequency radiation, the same kind of radiation you get from high tension power lines. The same kind of radiation you get from high tension power lines, EMF radiation. Okay? This causes our planet to pulsate. This EMF radiation pulsates into our planet, which causes the plates and the faults to heat up, allowing them to move even more freely. But again, I want you to recognize this. This also causes the plates and faults to heat up, allowing those plates and faults to more easily move. But again, we must recognize that there have already been huge stressors built up along these plates and faults. Huge stressors, large amounts of seismic energy. When these other factors come into play, that is when we get major movement. Some say these warnings are from God. While that might be true, we've also been seeing enemies of this country lighting off great big huge fireworks from that facility that I talked about at the beginning of this program. Lighting up huge fireworks that also affect the earthquakes. And I believe it's happened. Dennis Swanger just gave us 5 emergency management gift memberships. Those of you that received a gift membership, Sonic Popo, Kimberly, Turtle Walker, Linda Goyo, Trish Killian, and Lonnie. Please give our buddy Dennis Swanger a thank you for it. Thank you, Dennis. We appreciate you. God bless you. But even our enemies of this country and enemies of the world have been testing nuclear weapons. Sometimes we caught them, sometimes we haven't. Those big, huge BOMBs have been causing seismic energy to pop. Those BOMBs have been causing seismic energy to pop. Literally all over this world, not just in the United States, but all over the world. We're not told about them. The reason we're not told about them is because the countries that are doing this have been exercising their freedom to do it illegally. They're supposed to be abiding by nuclear test ban treaties. They are ignoring. Russia has been ignoring it for quite some time now, ignoring global laws. We've also seen man-made weather here, weather manipulation. Weather manipulation, it's happened. The last time was in Texas, causing massive floods and loss of life. Our enemies. We also know that this has happened. If you think all this is natural, hold on to that thought. Hold on to your hat. Knowing what I already know, I have already been asking questions. No, it's not normal to see an 8.8, 9.0 earthquake like we had off the Kamchatka Peninsula a month ago. Not normal. They have happened. And in fact, we have seen many of those earthquakes in the last decade, in the last 10 years. And we've seen more and more frequently. We've seen more and more large major earthquakes frequently. In the time period of December 24th, Christmas Eve, 2019, one of my former friends and I watched 3 7.0 earthquakes off the northwest coast of Vancouver Island. December 24th, Christmas Eve, 2019. We watched 3 7.0 earthquakes off of Vancouver Island happen. And because of that, we thought, oh my gosh, here comes Cascadia. I honestly have never prayed like I prayed that night. I prayed harder that night than I ever prayed, asking God to stop the Cascadia earthquake. Hold it off. Don't let people get injured or killed or lose their life on Christmas Eve. No, it didn't continue. It stopped. 3 7.0 earthquakes off of northern British Columbia, Canada, stopped. 170 miles west of Vancouver Island. Incredible. Incredible. We thought that night that those 3 major earthquakes could trigger the Cascadia earthquake. The Cascadia mega thrust earthquake. Very deadly earthquake. We prayed mightily that that region would be protected and spared this disastrous, massive earthquake on Christmas Eve. No, it did not happen. It could have, but didn't. We've seen major seismic events all over this world. Japan, a 9.0 earthquake in Japan in 2011. Alaska, 2019, 7.0. 2021, Antarctica, 9.0 earthquake. Puerto Rico, 2 8.0 and 8.4 earthquakes happened on December 26th and December 28th, 2019. How about Turkey? Turkey, 2 years ago, February 3rd, 2023, almost 3 years ago, 9.0, 10.0 earthquake there. And then Kamchatka Peninsula, 8.8, 9.4 earthquake there. Then we can't forget the Drake Passage either. The Drake Passage. Incredible. 7.8 earthquake there. Yes, they downgraded to a 7.6. That's what they do. They don't want anybody to know the real cause of these earthquakes. Fortunately, that earthquake in the Drake Passage had happened before. 7.4 earthquake in the Drake Passage, and then the 7.8, 8.0. Yeah. Fortunately, it was far enough out to sea that it didn't hurt anybody. Yes, they had some waves, but they were small. And within an hour after the quake, they canceled the tsunami warnings. Yeah. The 8.0 magnitude earthquake off of the southwest coast of Mindanao, Philippines. That caused a tsunami that left over 8,000 people dead or missing. 8.0 off the southwest coast of Mindanao, Philippines, just a few years ago. Then we have that 7.8 earthquake, 7.8 earthquake off of the southeast side of Mindanao, Philippines. Earthquakes in the Philippines are ongoing still. Still. Over 66,000 people have been affected by the earthquakes that hit northeast shore of Mindanao, Philippines. 66,000 people have been inconvenienced and affected. Over 100 homes were destroyed, and 500 other homes were partially damaged as a result of that quake. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Councils, hundreds of people evacuated to safe areas after their homes were damaged. At least 8 people were reported unalived. There have been more than 800 aftershocks from that Philippine earthquake. And those are continuing today. 20 of those aftershocks were major earthquakes themselves. 20 of those 800 aftershocks were major 7.0 plus earthquakes. Yeah. We've also seen hundreds of other smaller quakes around the entire globe. The USGS does not even bother to show us. I find them and show them to you because I believe you have a right to know. You have a right to know to be able to protect your family and your friends. That's why we talk about earthquakes. That's why we talk about tornadoes. That's why we talk about hurricanes. That's why we talk about winter storms. That's why we talk about fires and floods. You deserve the right to know how to protect yourselves. That's why we do what we do. But lately though, we've been seeing a lot more earthquakes, small, moderate, and large earthquakes. From Southern California all the way north to Washington into Canada. Lots of earthquakes, literally everywhere. We also seen a dramatic increase in seismic activity on the Pneumatic Fault. I keep pointing that out to you. I show you seismic energy on the East Coast because the Mid-Atlantic Fault is expanding. It's moving, it's expanding. That expansion is pushing Africa and Europe in the easterly direction. It's pushing Greenland, Canada, and the United States and northern Mexico in a southwesterly direction. That's why we have so many earthquakes on the East Coast. That's also a portion of the reason we have the earthquakes we do on the Pneumatic Fault. That's also why we have some of the earthquakes we have over on the West Coast. Because the continental shelf, the entire North American plate is being moved. The entire North American plate is being moved. Okay? We've been seeing and hearing about large mega earthquakes all on this channel. No other channel has this. No other channel has been talking about this but ours. It's not just on this channel anymore. Scientists are now sounding the warning voice that these earthquakes are real. Scientists are saying these earthquakes are real now. They're not hiding any longer. Yes, guys, earthquakes are real. They're not fantasy. They are not fantasy, guys. They are very real. Okay? There has definitely been an increase in minor, small, moderate, and large earthquakes along the North American West Coast. I've shown you those earthquakes. Okay? Some of these earthquakes are causing damage, and they have the potential for massive devastation. They have the capacity for massive devastation. Now that they're finally sounding the warning voice, they're sounding the warning of a symphony of fault lines. A symphony of fault lines here. One fault line erupting after the other, causing massive devastation. That's going to happen again in San Francisco. That's going to happen again in San Francisco when the San Andreas Fault opens up again. You thought both sides of the San Francisco Bay Bridge falling down, the bottom level and the top level falling down into the bay? That's just the beginning. This is just the beginning, guys. We're going to see the same thing happen up in Washington and Oregon, all over California. The warnings of this happening have been long overdue. Now the scientists are actually admitting what's going on. As I said earlier, there was an article that was put out in the San Francisco Gate newspaper. You can find a link here in our chat, or I mean in our top of our program of our channel here. Right below this video, in the top of our program, you'll find a link to that earthquake page, San Francisco Gate. Okay. In almost every case, during the past 6+ years that I've been on the air, we've been talking about what is going on to give the public enough warning to take appropriate action, for all of us to be able to prepare ourselves and our families. That's what's important here. Now I'm going to pause here just briefly, just for a minute. I want to ask all of you that are here with us, please give us our channel a thumbs up. Please give our channel a thumbs up here. That lets YouTube know that we're serious about this channel. That lets YouTube know that this channel is worthy. That lets YouTube know that the information here on this channel is getting out to the right people. Please do that, so we keep this warning voice out here for the public, because YouTube has been trying to stifle us as of late. We are literally the only channel out here where you get this information on a regular basis, so you can stay up to date on what's going on. It's totally free, unless you want to help support our channel in our PayPal or on our address here, where you can send us a letter, a card with a donation to our program, which we greatly appreciate. We have 2 PayPal locations, and we have our address, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. We'd appreciate you helping support this channel. We'd appreciate it greatly. Okay? Also hit the subscribe button. YouTube has also been unsubscribing people as of late. Unsubscribed 10 people in the last 4 days. 10 people have been unsubscribed in the last 4 days, so please check and make sure you're subscribed to our channel. If you're not subscribed, you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. And when you do that, there's a little bell icon as well. Little bell icon right next to the subscription button. Click on that. When you click on the bell icon, a drop-down menu of 3 items is going to come up. Click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on the air. Subscribe to this channel and click on that notification bell so you get notified when we come on the air. But be advised, YouTube doesn't like us. YouTube does not tell everyone that we're on the air. But be advised, we come on the air between 4 and 5 o'clock every evening. Between 4 and 5 o'clock every evening, except a handful of times when we come on the air later because there have been breaking news. Okay? That's the only time that we're going to come on later. Hit the subscribe button, click on that bell notification. Also, make sure you come here and visit us here on this channel. Otherwise, you're not going to get the information. Okay? Please do that. That way you'll get the breaking news about our Earth, what's going on in our communities and our nation and around the world. It comes out of here. When we told you about the 7.8 earthquake that hit a week ago in the Drake Passage, that was just one of many aftershocks. One of many aftershocks of an earthquake that hit there about a month ago. A 7.4 earthquake a month ago. Then a 7.8 earthquake last week. Aftershocks, guys. Aftershocks. Sometimes aftershocks are even larger than the original earthquake. Sometimes aftershocks can be larger than the original earthquake. That was the case in the Drake Passage. Okay? Over in the just southeast of the Kamchatka Peninsula, they called that an 8.8 earthquake, and at the time, I showed you where it was really a 9.4 earthquake. Yeah, a 9.4 earthquake in the Kamchatka Peninsula area. But they lied. With the subsequent aftershocks that continue to this day, that area is still rocking, as I showed you earlier. And as I've said, these aftershocks will continue for weeks, months, and even years after the original earthquake, because the original earthquake was so large. Large, very large, shallow quakes will have aftershocks for years, years and years. Just like Puerto Rico is still having aftershocks today after an 8.0 and an 8.4 earthquake hit there in 2019. Yeah. We pointed out to you that the deep earthquakes cause larger shallow earthquakes as well. These larger shallow earthquakes do more damage than the deep earthquakes do. Larger shallow earthquakes are closer to the crust, closer to the top of the earth where we walk on. That's the reason it causes more damage than the deep earthquakes. Okay? And frequently it can also cause loss of life. These shallow earthquakes can be very large and can lose a lot of lives with those earthquakes. It happens a lot. The earthquakes along the Kamchatka coast also activated 2 volcanoes in that area. We called that one. We knew that that volcano was going to erupt, and it did. Then it caused another volcano to erupt. Yeah. Now, why is this important to know? Heidi Picker just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, Heidi. God bless you for that. We appreciate it very much. Why did that earthquake cause volcanoes? Simple reason. You can't have volcanism without subduction. You can't have subduction without volcanoes. That's a simple reason. Just like it's happening over in Washington, Oregon. It's a subduction area all the way to California, all the way into Mexico. You can't have volcanoes without subduction. You can't have subduction without volcanoes. Okay? Now getting back to the Pacific Northwest. Warnings have come out from the scientists regarding this. They are saying that the big one may not be just one earthquake. They've always talked about the big earthquake, the big one. Now they are saying that the big earthquake may not just be one earthquake. They're saying it might be multiple simultaneous earthquakes hitting up and down the faults, from north to south, east to west on the faults. Okay? One earthquake triggering another earthquake. One earthquake triggering another earthquake on a separate earthquake fault. The Cascadia earthquake fault that you see here, triggering the San Andreas. The San Andreas earthquake triggering the Cascadia. One earthquake triggering the other. You need to know that, because it's very likely that it's going to happen. We've seen a lot of earthquakes that we've seen on the Cascadia region, in the Cascadia region, all up and down the coastline, all up and down the entire west coast. We've shown you the fault lines of the Cascadia subduction zone, as I'm doing right now. We're showing you the San Andreas fault as well, running all the way through California to Mexico. From Northern California all the way down through the state of California into Mexico. The article that I'm talking about came out last week on October 7th. The article goes on to state that 2 of the West Coast's most dangerous fault lines might be more in sync than previously thought. A new study found that the 2 sleeping giants, the Cascadia subduction zone and the North San Andreas fault, they've been moving in rhythm for many years now, many millennia, sometimes shaking within hours of each other. Sometimes the Cascadia will shake, and an hour or so later, the San Andreas will shake, and vice versa. Okay? Sometimes shaking with hours of each other in geological dance. A geological dance that can go on for a long time. The dance that can rattle the coastline from Oregon to California, or Oregon up into Washington, or Washington all the way into Alaska, or all the way down to northern Mexico. Fact. So they're saying that the Cascadia subduction zone and the San Andreas fault, 2 faults that are working simultaneously. And like I said, A lot of warnings have been coming out about this right now. A lot of warnings. That's because they believe it could happen at any time. It's almost imminent. It's almost imminent. In 2025, this year, a team led by Oregon State University geologist Chris Goldfinger, the same Goldfinger that met in that symposium in San Francisco in 2019. Chris Goldfinger. They published their findings in the Journal of Science, Journal of Geosphere, the Scientific Journal of Geosphere. They demonstrated the first evidence of the two faults, the San Andreas and the Cascadia fault line, have interacted repeatedly over the course of thousands of years. The Cascadia subduction zone runs from Northern California through Oregon, up Washington, and southern British Columbia, Canada, all the way up to Haida Gwaii. The famous San Andreas Fault runs along the coast of Northern California, all the way down through the state of California, all the way down to northern Mexico. Yeah. Straight along the coast of San Francisco Bay, on the western side of San Francisco Bay. By examining the deep sea sediment, they took deep sea sediment cores from the Cascadia megathrust fault line and also the San Andreas fault line, where the oceanic plates dive deep under the North American continent. Researchers have found signs. They have found signs that major quakes on one fault may have helped trigger ruptures on the other fault. The fault lines, the fault zones themselves are working hand in hand, one with the other. This fault line behavior has continued through many millennia, at least 10 earthquake cycles over the past 3,100 years. 10 earthquake cycles during the past 3,100 years. Yeah. According to the study identified matching pairs of sediment layers, also known as doublets, in canyons off Northern California near the Mendocino Triple Junction in California, where the San Andreas, the Cascadia, and the Gorda faults move and converse. Each doublet represents underwater landslides caused by intense shaking. One from Cascadia, followed closely by another from the San Andreas Fault. Researchers have written that there's evidence of partial synchronization between the two faults, a phenomenon which stress released from one rupture point triggers another, shaking on the other fault, from within minutes to hours after that. The team said the pattern of sediment layers suggests both systems, both fault lines, have repeatedly ruptured in close succession, likely starting with Cascadia. Why do you think we've been talking and preaching that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake was going to happen and that it could trigger the San Andreas Fault? It's going to. The northern San Andreas Fault events have triggered turbidity currents in the southernmost part of the Cascadia subduction zone around the Triple Junction. A turbidity current is a rapid downflow of dense sediment layers. A sudden rapid downflow of dense sediment-laden water that moves along the ocean or lake floor. Let me put a picture of this up on the chat, or not up in the chat, but on this program so you can see it. I want you to understand this because it's part of this whole class tonight. You deserve to know it. You deserve to know it. You deserve to know it because it's going to possibly save your lives. It's possibly going to save your lives, guys. Turbidity currents right here. A downflow of sediment layers caused by earthquakes. A downflow of sediment layers in water caused by earthquakes. That's what you're seeing here. Okay? It's caused by geological disturbances such as earthquakes or collapsing slopes. These currents transport large amounts of sediment from shallower areas to the deep sea. And they can be powerful enough to damage underwater infrastructure. These turbidity currents can damage underwater infrastructure as well. Okay? The study the scientists did pointed out even very dissimilar faults can end up synchronizing. The Cascadia earthquake fault is so very different from the San Andreas. The Cascadia goes along the coastline, whereas the San Andreas goes along the coastline until it gets down north of San Francisco, then it goes more inland and continues inland into Mexico. Goldfinger and his co-authors noted this: the similarity in timing of the two systems. They might be important in maintaining that coupling, meaning that the large earthquakes on one fault can trigger the other. Large earthquake faults on one fault may alter conditions enough to influence the other fault. The Cascadia subduction zone, which stretches from Northern California up to British Columbia, Canada, is capable of producing a 9.0 to 10.0 megathrust earthquake. A 9.0, 10.0 megathrust earthquake. Remember that. The same size earthquake that happened in 1700. 1700, over 300 years before. Yeah. In April, this past April, a separate research published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. That research showed that a future Cascadia megathrust quake, or one tectonic plate slides under another, just like this. The North American plate can get stuck. The North American plate can get stuck against the subducting plate. When that happens, then the subducting plate slips, which could instantly sink parts of the coastline. The subduction slip here going downward could cause the coastline of the North American continent, Oregon, Washington, and California, to slip into the ocean along the coastline. Could. Abrupt slips. That could instantly sink parts of the coastline by several feet. And it could also expand floodplains by more than 100 miles. Could expand floodplains by more than 100 miles and could cause sinking part of the coastline into the water permanently. Meanwhile, the northern San Andreas Fault also can be unleashed and can unleash major events. In 1906 San Francisco, 1989 San Francisco, devastating San Francisco. Now, while the study doesn't predict when the next rupture is going to happen, the findings add this. The findings add new context for how scientists evaluate the west coast of North America to earthquake hazards. They are re-evaluating the earthquake hazards here on the east coast of North America. Completely re-evaluating it. That changes everything. That changes everything. It's going to happen, guys. The big one could happen on both faults. On both faults. We thought that the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake off of Seattle, Washington could travel south. But if it happens on the San Andreas Fault, it could travel north all the way to Alaska. And farther south all the way to Mexico. Fact. Does anybody have any questions for me? I've taken a great deal of time to read these articles, both in the scientific journals and also on San Francisco Gate. Great articles. I encourage you to go take a look at them. Okay? Any questions? My buddy Don says here in the chat, Murphy's Law always applies. If it can go wrong, it will. There will always be a test in our life. Always. The Bible tells us to plan. The Bible tells us to prepare. The Bible tells us to practice and overcome our trials. And overcome our trials. Let's do that, guys. Let's do that. Let's ask and activate Christ's power in our own lives. Let's activate Christ's power in our own lives. How? Through prayer, through study of the scriptures. Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. This is important for you, and it's important for your families. Let's do it. I think of the scripture, God loved his only begotten son. For God so loved his only begotten son. Yeah. Let's exercise Christ's power in our own lives. We can do it. Each one of us can do this. It's important. It's important. Any questions? Picoy is asking, those subduction zones colliding, does that cause tsunamis as well? Yes. Yes, it does. We talked about that before. These plates subducting could cause tsunamis, and very well may. Upwards of 100 to 150 foot high. Upwards of 100 to 150 foot high. That's another fact. We talked about this before with the Cascadia earthquake. They expect anywhere from a 50-foot to 150-foot tsunami wave, and it's just not one wave, it's multiple waves. It's not just one wave, it's multiple waves here. It's going to happen. It's a matter of time. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Let's get that way. Let's get that way soon. Let's get that way very soon. Because it's not going to be far off when all heck is going to break loose. Then it's going to be too late. Baby, it's going to be too late. Yeah. Let's make sure we prepare now so you don't have to do it later. Any questions? By the way, that was a great question. That was an awful great question. Well, that didn't even make sense. Awful great. That was an absolutely great question. Absolutely, Dennis. There's nothing like the precious blood of Jesus Christ to wash us clean. Make sure you're part of it. Make sure you're part of it, guys. Make sure you're doing what Christ needs you to do. Make sure you're baptized. Make sure that you're following the gospel of Jesus Christ. Make sure you are ready to enter heaven. Make sure you are just like our buddy Charlie Kirk, testifying of Jesus Christ right up to the end. Make sure we're ready. We don't know when the time is going to come, but it will come. Promise, it will come. Brothers and sisters, I know the gospel of Jesus Christ is true. I've got a testimony of Jesus Christ. I hope each one of us can get that testimony and also help our children, our friends and neighbors also acquire a testimony of Jesus Christ. It's not just going to benefit you, it's going to be benefiting your entire family. Now, guys, if anything else happens tonight, we'll be coming back on there to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon, same time, same station, with another episode of Emergency Management Associates, where we're going to talk specifically about Southern California. We'll talk a little bit about the New Matter fault, and I think you'll gain a new perspective about what's going on, because we're going to follow this. We're going to follow it through. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. May God bless you that you will have His Spirit with you always. May God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. Talk soon. Good night. Take care, everyone.
Associates, we're dedicated and true, bringing you the essential knowledge, helping you see things through. From disaster preparedness to navigating recovery's embrace, we're here to guide you in every unpredictable time and place. We break down the complex, make it easy to grasp and absorb, sharing strategies for safety, the vital lessons you can't afford to hoard. So thank you for watching, and thank you so much for your sub. You're a key part of our growing family, a member of our knowledge club. With every like, every share, and every comment you send our way, our critical message spreads further, helping more people every single day. Together we're stronger and more prepared. That's the truth we all abide. You help us build resilience with nowhere for uncertainty to hide. Your engagement truly inspires us. Your feedback acts as a guiding light, helping us continually grow and making our channel's future bright. We're always learning, always striving to be better. Bring you the most up-to-date information, no matter the weather. Emergency Management Associates is here for you now and forever, it's true. Keep watching, keep learning, because we truly appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Thank you.